So, hold on, let me clean the camera real quick. So I'm not cleaning it. So, now we got the timing chains put on. Secondary timing chains are on. Now, note to self, guys, on pretty much on the left and right bank, you might get easily confused when you're facing the motor. But, when you're like, it's completely opposite. It's like when you're looking at the mirror. Your left is your right is your left. So, pretty much left and right bank. Pretty much firewall side is right bank. And driver's side is left bank. So on the left bank on a VQ30, on the right bank on a VQ35, you line it up with the circle dots for the cam chains, circle dots, and then there's also circle in the back. And it's easier to check the back cam for the intake cam, the circle dot, with this off, because you can see it clearly before you do that. So when you install the cam sprockets with the chains, before when you're doing the timing, do not install this. Install this last. And pretty much you put them on, you check the timing in the front over here, 2 dots, and then a dot in the back. Put this on, torque it down, and then on the driver's side, pretty much this is the front. So if you're behind the motor like this, the firewall will be right bank, driver's side will be left bank. Pretty much is like your body, The left arm's your left arm when you're looking forward. Left arm's in the mirror, it's the complete opposite. Your right's your left, your left's your right. So right bank is right, facing forward, left bank is left. So on the left bank, you do pretty much ovals. You got 2 ovals in the front on the exhaust sprocket, and you have an oval in the back. And same thing. You put them on, you line the 2 orange dots with the oval, and then it's also on the passenger side, the right side, I forgot to mention. You got the 2 dots on the chains. You line the circles with them. It's not lined up because I spun the motor to make sure it's not, valve to valve contact or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So on the left side, do it with the oval side. So remember, right side is dots, left side is ovals. So yeah, line it up with that. And also in the back, you have an oval mark in the back. If you take the sprocket off, you'll see it, but you line it up that way. So yeah. And then when you do the timing marks for the chains, pretty much you have this mark right here, this cam chain. When you're doing the main chain, the crank chain, pretty much you have a mark here. This mark lines up with this little knob right here. Same thing on this side. See, mark. And then you have the knob right here. And then you also have the keyway for the crank. It lines up with this mark. It won't look perfectly aligned, but as long as you're close, you're good. So pretty much, where is it? The black marks, like I said, I spun the motor already. So the black marks line up with the mark and the dot right here. So you got a mark and a dot, line up with the knob with the black marks. See, you got 2 black. So lines up with those 2 with the knob over there and the dot. And then the gold mark is for the crank. It lines up to this dot right here. So when you have everything on, pretty much it's stupid proof, This lines up to this mark on the bottom of the crank. Make sure the keyway is marked up on top, and then the 2 dots over here are lined up here. Then line the dot marks up the knob, line up mark up the dot with the 2 black marks on the key on the chain. And pretty much you can't screw this up. It's dummy proof. These motors look challenging to work on, which they're not. They're actually pretty easy. And once you get away from your fear of, oh my God, it looks so complicated, it's not that hard to work on. Like I'm thinking about getting a G35 or 350Z with a VQ or even a Maxima, a 5-speed Maxima or 6-speed Maxima. So I can probably build a turbo motor, because these things sound amazing when they're boosted and they're built. So, well, stay tuned. Now I'm gonna, well, not stay tuned, but pretty much I'm gonna put the front timing cover on. And yeah, and also if you're doing heads on this thing, also change all the O-rings for the oil ports, because you have one here. There's pretty much like 6 of them, 6 O-rings you gotta change. There's 2 over here. 1, 2. There's 2 in the back. 1, 2. And then there's 2 in the front. 1, 2. I thought there was only 4. I only changed 4 of them, but there was 2 in the back of the plate right here. But that's not hard to change, so even if they do leak, I'll just pull the cam cap off over here, the VVTIs, and change them right there. It's not that hard. So now I'm going to put the front timing cover on. And pretty much, well, first I'm going to make sure all these bolts are tight, all these 10mm bolts, because, you know, God forbid one of these things back out and cause catastrophic damage, get caught up in the chain and just chew the whole motor up. So I'm going to make sure all these bolts are tight, and then I'm going to put the front cover on. So make sure the surfaces are clean, like whatever silicone you clean off, like stick a pick in there and clean it off. And whatever surfaces, you know, you're putting silicone on, use some kind of solvent cleaner, like brickworks cleaner, whatever. Clean off all the grooves. Clean off the face of the block, the other side, inside timing plate. Clean out all that too, which I'll have to do in a minute. And then make sure it's dry and it's like, you know, not greasy, so the silicone will stick and it will seal. So I had a little mishap. I forgot to put these bolts in right here on the top of the cam lobe. Top of the upper cover right here. The cam cap where the VVTI cylinder goes. I forgot to put these bolts in because I was distracted by my boss asking me questions and stuff. So pretty much I had to take everything back off, realign it, and as you can see, line, black mark, little dimple, line mark from the dimple, and then also crank has to be lined up, gold mark with that notch over there, the oval notch, and then the keyway has to be pretty much lined up to that. So you have to pretty much rotate the crank a little bit to put in the timing chain guide and the tensioner. But besides that, you know, it goes in pretty simple once you get it through here where the water pump goes and stuff. So yeah, but now I have silicone over here, and then silicone all the way around. Oh, I put silicone over there. Oops. But yeah, you know, it's from being distracted. I forget stuff. But yeah, and then the cover's gonna go on in a few minutes. Okay guys, so now the timing cover's back on. Pretty much on these timing covers under here, they have bolts that bolt into the plate from under the car through the oil pan. So you got 2 bolts over here, and here, and here. You got 2 bolts going in. And then we also have, well, when you also put the plate on, make sure you take this cover out because it's a pain in the ass. And you have 2 dowels that don't go in, and this seal over here, if you get a new seal, it's a lot fatter than the old one, so it's a lot harder to compress and run out the dowels. So that was quite a pain to put in, but you know, I pretty much put a little bit of grease so it slips on a little easier. I mean, hope it don't leak, well, I don't think it'll leak, but you know, just a thin film of grease so it slides in a lot easier. And this side still stuck out, and I had to just, you know, push it in with a 1/4-inch extension and then a screwdriver so it fits in that groove. That way when I put the bolts in from the bottom, under the oil pan, it'll compress down and tighten. But, oh man, what a pain. This is my first time doing a VQ. It's not that complicated, but if you're doing the whole silicone with the back plate and the front plate, it's better to do all in one day, because in the silicone, you put these bolts in, they go through both the plates to the block. So there might be silicone in there. I had to dig it out with a pick and then tap to clean out the threads, and then drill up with the tighten the bolts. So yeah, no, so pretty much covers on. So this inspection cover is going on, that inspection cover is going on. These 2 covers are going on. And the valve covers, and then pretty much the motor's going to go. So that'll be nice. Alright guys, also one more thing. With these top front timing covers, they have these little grooves for silicone to sit on. You gotta make sure they're all cleaned out, because that's where the silicone seals to the other timing plate. So this around here, gotta clean all that up. And once that's done, put a nice bead of silicone all the way around, make sure all the grooves, and then pretty much let it sit for 2 minutes, let the outside get a little stiff, and you have to use gray silicone, either Nissan brand or Permatex Ultra Gray, because that's what Nissan recommends. So yeah, just use that, put the front titanium cover on, and it should be good.